Radio Caro. We provide a situation analysis of women in leadership positions in Egypt. We discuss the challenges faced by women in leadership positions. We explore potential opportunities that exist in support of women in leadership. We learn about the experiences of women leaders in the international community. A woman of substance. A woman of substance. Hello everybody over there and welcome to a new edition of A Woman of Substance, brought to you by the European service of Radio Caro on FM 95.4. You know, we try to alert the public opinion by stressing that women can make peace a reality. And you know that Arab women can help bring a better life for all in a peaceful society. But the question here is, how can we encourage them to do so? As the world joined forces in celebrating women, the great activities of women show that the role and status of women in society has become a priority.
There is a very active populist movement everybody is talking about. I have seen many young girls who become really successful in this area, which encouraged me to give more in this area.
So we are educating them, we are giving them hope.
These trading houses, we feel it is a one-way step towards the empowering of our women economically.
We are participating in every aspect of development.
Issues regarding women's human rights had been under the spot since Egypt's ratification on the Convention of Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women. Since then, there has been a clear manifestation on the presence of a political will that has serious commitment towards women empowerment on the national development agenda. The International Labour Organization is supporting a number of initiatives aimed at acquiring better knowledge of poverty dynamics in the country. Here is Dr. Simel Isham, Gender and Women Workers Specialist at the Arab States Regional Office of the International Labour Organization. And Dr. Isham reviews the position of women in labor market.
You know, most of our economies in the Arab region are still very rural. And most of the women's actually labor force participation in the region is in agriculture. So we have around 25% on average across the region, from Morocco to Yemen to Iraq. We can talk about around 25% women's labor force participation. But most of it, like I said, is in agriculture as unpaid family labor with no social protection, no insurance, no coverage, no pension. So you work, till old age. So if we actually excluded agricultural employment, where do we see women in non-agricultural wage, paid work? We actually end up with a very small number, like 10%. Yeah. So when you come down to it, and when you look around, look at the University of Cairo student body, there's all these young women getting educated. What's happening to them? Where are they going? So when we look actually at unemployment figures, for instance, in Egypt, we see young people's unemployment is very huge. So we are educating them, we are giving them hope, but then we are not really providing them with the opportunities. And this is about the structure of our labor markets. It's about how we envision our growth. We need to think, our policymakers need to think in terms of employment-intensive growth, and also training our new generations in skills that are needed in the labor market, that are needed. We always say computers and languages, fine. But when you ask the employers, for instance, in the private sector, because as you know, in our region, public sector employment is shrinking. So the hope is in either self-employment, but that has also many constraints to it, and it's a risky thing to go into your own business. You find capital, you don't find capital, the markets, finding the right service or product to be able to succeed. And having said that, women in that are still very small proportions. Women entrepreneurs are very small proportion. So we need to think, what does the labor market need? And we need to think, for instance, we promote in rural areas cooperatives. Okay, great. But it's not just about, milking cows or making, cheese. We need to think about cooperative management. Who manages these cooperatives? Who puts the accounts on the computer? So in order to, for instance, keep some of our rural youth in rural areas so they don't keep coming to the capitals, hoping for jobs, joining the unemployed. We need to think also in terms of the nature of our economies and the new opportunities that exist in rural as well as urban. In tourism, same thing. Our rural areas, especially for instance, like in Egypt, we receive tourists. How can we do it in a way that's culturally sensitive, but also responding to the demand that exists, where opportunities exist. I think one of the things we can look at but that's important for Arab women is also the perceptions of women working. Because we still, our families are changing, younger people are getting married more later and later in life, They are not having as many kids, or they don't have their kids so right away when they get married. So there's a change in family patterns, household patterns. They are living maybe in nuclear families, not in extended big houses, but in smaller households. And this has implications for how the household works. For instance, in our region, still the household is the responsibility of women. Children, cooking, cleaning, washing, taking care of if there is an elderly in the household or a sick person in the household. These are all expected to be the women's work. And this is, of course, unpaid work. Of course, it's the labor of love. But if one income is not enough in a household, in most of our households, and we expect women to go into the labor markets, then we need to find ways to change the relationship and notions in the household. If the man is not the only breadwinner, then, she should not be the only one spending time in the household. We find women spending, per average, in many of the Arab states surveys show 6 hours a day on these kind of household activities. Men may spend maybe half an hour if it is to throw the garbage or do some shopping or things like that. So we need to change that balance a little bit because it is a big burden.
As for empowerment and equality, women represent nearly half the population and head nearly 1/4 of households. Accordingly, the technical advisor at the Women's Business Center of the National Council for Women, Dr. Zainab Safar, notes that the empowerment of women is linked to socioeconomic development.
The rate of unemployment is high, especially for women. It is 4 times that for men. And even for the youth, it's much more. So we have to help young girls to be in the workforce, either to be in the workforce, so we enhance that by enhancing their skills, giving them training, or support them to be entrepreneurs. So I would love to see women mentoring, who have done a lot, mentoring women, young women to become successful entrepreneurs. Because in this case, they are going to be participating in the development of the country. They are going to increase their income. They are going to do some work and not to be burdened on the government by seeking employment in the government. But they would become entrepreneurs. They can become successful. And I have seen many young girls who become really successful in this area, which encouraged me to give more in this area.
Finally, it can be concluded by saying that the development can only be fully attained if society as a whole joins hands. and women can help bring a better life for all. So why not encourage them to do so? A woman of substance. A woman of substance. منى حسني.